Well, good morning. How are you? Glad to see you this morning. My name is Jeff. I'm so glad you could be with me today. A couple of things right away. Yes, I'm back. I know I've been away for a while, and I'll explain that in a bit. I also have something else to explain. This is our new cat. And if you hear meowing in the background today, it's because of Lilith here. She's a monster, and she's not quite a kitten anymore, but she's still got that kitten energy, so we'll see how today goes. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000 on June 1st, 1991. It's a 1982 Italian sword-and-sandal film called Cave Dwellers. Or is it called The Blade Master? Or is it called Ator 2 Orion the Invincible? Whatever, the film was directed by Joe D'Amato, even though it says David Hill's here, and it stars Miles O'Keefe, Linda Foster, David Brannon, and many other wonderful people. This was the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode in which Joel invents a smoking jacket, the Mads invent robotic arm wrestling, Joel and the bots recreate the opening credits of the film, and later Joel gives a demonstration of how Foley works, which includes lighting TV's Madam on Fire. So a couple weeks ago I did a video called Godzilla vs. Megalon, and if you didn't see it on Sunday, you're never going to get to see it because I knew I was taking a risk using a Godzilla film because Toho is very protective over their large fire-breathing monster. Now, when you publish videos such as mine that use copyrighted material, a few things might happen. The first is nothing, and that's wonderful. I always feel relieved when I see no messages come up whatsoever. The next one is you get one saying that there's a copyright claim on your video, but the copyright holder allows their video to be used, but you can't monetize your video, which means you can't make any money off your video. But since I don't make any money off my videos in general, I'm not part of that program, it doesn't bother me at all. The third one is they block out that section of your video that has the copyrighted material. So people watching your video will be watching it, suddenly the screen will go black, there'll be no audio for 2-3 minutes, whatever, and then it jumps back. So that's not good. But the fourth one is, the worst one is, they just pull your video. They say, nope, you cannot publish this video in any shape or form. And so, 2 Sundays ago when I published my Godzilla film, I first got the copyright claim, but I can use it message. And I thought, oh, that's great. And it was that way all through Sunday. And then Monday morning I wake up, go onto YouTube, and what does it say? Nope, Toho filed a claim and they want my video down, so it's gone. It's not deleted, but it's not published. I still have the files, of course, but there's nothing I can do with it. So the bottom line is, this week I was supposed to do Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, but these videos take way too long for me to spend on something like that just to have it pulled, so I skipped ahead to Season 3, and we're going to talk about the Cave Dwellers. Now, by the way, if you want to see either of the two Godzilla films, the MST3K versions of these Godzilla films, right now they're available on archive.org. So that's the only place you'll see them. And who knows how long they're going to be there before Toho figures that one out. Anyway, warrior, magician, hero, thief. They call him the Blade Master. Now, wait a minute. Hey, Chauncey, can you put on the poster for Conan the Barbarian? Thief, warrior, gladiator, king. Now put up the one for Blade Master. Warrior, magician, hero, thief. A coincidence, I'm sure. I guess the big difference is Conan is a gladiator while Ator is a magician. I see. So today I'm going to talk about the Blade Master version of this film. I don't know if there's anything different from the film shown on Mystery Science Theater called The Cave Dwellers or the original Italian version, but Blade Master is what I'm watching. Now, for those new to the show, while I'm talking about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000, I'm more talking about the film itself and not so much about Joel and the Bots' treatment of the film, and that's just the way it is, so deal with it. There'll be a little at the end, but anyway. So this film was made in Italy at a time when Italian cinema was quickly and cheaply making rip-offs of American films, successful American films. The director was Joe D'Amato, whose real name was Aristide Massaccesi. Joe lived from 1936 to 1999. He was director of all types of films: westerns, swashbucklers, war films, fantasy films, and even pornography. About 200 in his lifetime. The thing about this man was the name Joe D'Amato was just one out of almost 100 names he used as a filmmaker. To tell you what kind of a filmmaker Joe was, his first few films were based around the stock footage he had, and then he made a series of Emmanuelle films, but not part of the original series of Emmanuelle films. He did was spell as Emmanuelle with one M instead of two to separate it from the already successful series of films starring Sylvia Crystal. Joe would do anything he could to make his films successful: sex, violence, gore, and such, and take it to the extreme. Anything to shock, I guess. In 1982, sword-and-sandal films made a comeback, especially with the film Conan the Barbarian in 1982. Joe wanted to do his own spin on this, so he created basically a remake called Ator the Fighting Eagle. And then, when the sequel to Conan the Barbarian came out in '84, Conan the Destroyer, Joe quickly, and I mean quickly, made today's film Ator 2 Orion the Invincible. It seems, however, that Ator 2 was more inspired by the 1981 film Quest for Fire than Conan the Barbarian. Now, when the first Ator film was released in the United States, it was given the name Ator the Fighting Eagle, but for this one they just called it the Blade Master, and I'm not sure why. Joe D'Amato said of the film Ator 2 that it was made in great haste and almost without a script. I believe it. Miles O'Keefe plays our muscle-bound hero, Ator. He was born in 1954 and is still alive today. O'Keefe was born in Ripley, Tennessee. He was a football athlete who attended the United States Air Force Academy. He rose to fame when he replaced Lee Catalino to play Tarzan in the 1981 Bo and John Derek film Tarzan the Ape Man, a very silly film written so John could capitalize on his wife's amazing and almost always nude body. There are some questions of how Miles got the part. Either both Catalito and a stuntman got hurt or sick or something, or Bo Derek thought Catalito was too fat and demanded he be replaced. Anyway, it was his appearance in Tarzan that got him the part in 3 Ator films. The 2 I already mentioned, and the third, The Iron Warrior from 1987. Although Miles kept acting until 2001, the Ator films are pretty much what he is known for. Apparently, Joe wasn't too happy with Miles O'Keefe, later saying that he was very shy and walked like a paralytic, and that he would not attempt to change his expression even slightly. Lisa Foster plays Mila, the woman with the hubcap strapped to her chest. Lisa was born in 1964, although I can't find the exact date. Before this film, Lisa was in Spring Fever and Fanny Hill and has acted in a few things since, but she is more than an actor. She became a visual effects artist, doing effects for such films as Coneheads, Cliffhanger, Super Mario Bros., Die Hard with a Vengeance, Wolf, Cable Guy, and James and the Giant Peach. And beyond that, she was a video game developer, so she was a very accomplished lady. Zor is played by David Brandon. Actually, at the time this came out, he was still going under his real name, David Kane Haunton. David was born in 1951 in Ireland. He worked in a London theatre group after graduating from Cambridge. He appeared in over 100 Italian or international films. He is also a director, designer, and lighting person in Italian theater productions. And he also wears a great wig and awesome mustache in this movie. And lastly, we have Charles Borromel. Charles lived from 1933 to 2007 and was born in Scotland. He's one of those actors who kept on working for over 25 years, although never really having a huge success. He did appear in Gidget Goes to Rome in 1963, Waterloo in 1970, and War of the Planets in 1977. Now, before we watch the film, I want to explain a little why this film is called The Cave Dwellers. The film was bought by a company called Film Ventures International, located in Atlanta, Georgia. For some reason, Film Ventures would buy these older films, redo the credits in this style, and many times give them new names. Oddly, in many of their films, they would use footage from other films in their opening credits, and I'm not sure why. Film Ventures International would make a few films. They made a Jaws ripoff called Grizzly in 1976, replacing the shark with a bear, and that made a lot of money. So in 1980 they bought the rights to a film called Great White, which Riff Tracks fans might know as The Last Shark. They spent $4 million advertising the film in the US. Universal Pictures, however, thought this one was a little too close to Jaws and filed a lawsuit. They won and the film was pulled from theaters. This caused the company to collapse. Edward L. Monteiro, the company head, who was also going through a divorce at the time, disappeared with $1 million of Film Venture International's money and was never seen again. Maybe someday I'll do a whole episode on Film Ventures International. It's an interesting story. So what is the Cave Dwellers, or the Blade Master, or whatever you want to call it? Let's roll the film. Well, we start out by seeing how the Cave Dwellers live. Barbaric, isn't it? Then we meet Mila and her father Akronas. Akronas has been troubled by a dream. He also invented something that glows, and he describes it this way.
What is it?
It is everything and nothing. It is life and death, goodness, riches, poverty, and evil.
Why invent the thing in the first place? I mean, what's the point? Now we get a little backstory of Ator. It's all flashbacks from the first film. But we do learn that Ator now lives with a teacher named Thong. Back to Mila and her father. He wants her to leave, but she doesn't want to. That decision is made easy when they are attacked.
Dare you lay hands on him, you mangy dogs? All of you put together are not worth this man's little finger.
When life comes to an end, all levels are the same. For my own part, I fail to see why during life we create artificial distinctions among ourselves. Because all men are born equal.
Akronas is one of those dudes that just can't say anything simple. You know, the way people talk when they want to sound intelligent but really aren't. Mila runs to find Ator while Zor tries to get the new weapon from Akronas. And with an arrow in her chest, Mila begins to limp. Meanwhile, Zor and Akronas just keep talking and talking.
Why eastward? Why did your daughter fly like an arrow straight towards the sun? Of course, I could easily use torture to make you tell me, but that would be too simple. It would spoil our little game.
Mila finally gets to Ator, and Ator deals with her wound.
This is really amazing. Why, your knowledge of surgery surpasses even that of the Great One.
After her arrow wound is healed, Mila wants to leave, but Ator says no, even though her father's in trouble. Ator gives her a test so she can prove she is who she says she is.
You understand why it was necessary. When I left your father's castle, he told me that if ever the geometric nucleus could endanger the world's peace, a messenger would come to me and prove his identity beyond a doubt.
So now our three heroes are on their way, and it looks like we have the makings of a plot, though I wouldn't get your hopes up. And of course, Zor and Akronas are still talking, but we meet Sandor.
Of course, any man who seeks knowledge and is wise should be willing to learn. Who knows? I might even learn something.
As you can see, the Master is giving us a lesson in humility.
Now, is it me, or do a lot of people say a lot of things in this film without really saying anything? Let's stop here and find out where we're at. Akronas invented a weapon that Zor wants, Mila got Ator to help, Zor got Sander to help kill Ator, and, well, that's where we're at. So Sander makes fog to confuse the good guys, and there's a lot of running around and getting lost. Ator and Thong find a cave, and we meet, I guess, some invisible fighters? Minutes later, Mila wanders into the cave. Ator and Thong defeat the invisible fighters, and Mila, I guess, meets the cave dwellers? Mila is captured and forced to watch some sort of sacrifice in which the leader of the cave dwellers eats the heart of the victim, and Mila's next on the list for the heart removal. How can she ever get out of this one, I wonder? How about an entrance that's worthy of a cheap Las Vegas magician? I want to see that again. I'm not so impressed with the Flash, more impressed with the fact that Miles O'Keefe showed some expression. Eventually they make their way out of the cave. Was this all part of Sander's plan? I'm not really sure, but if it was, he failed and Zor isn't happy.
If you had all the magical powers that you told me you had, none of this would have happened.
I don't see how I failed.
You don't, eh? Well, you soon will.
Guards!
Now we're back to where we were 20 minutes ago.
I sense the presence of something.
And now we get some more fighting, and I'm not even sure who these dudes are. Are they working for Zor? It doesn't matter. The good guys win, and we're back to where we were again. And Zor and Akronas keep talking. The good guys take time off for dinner, and we get a little unnecessary backstory on Zor.
They're the survivors of the noble tribe of Han. They worship the god of war, Soko.
Soko. I know that name.
He was lord of the Northern Territory.
And somehow Ator knows that her father is still alive.
No, your father's safe.
The next morning, Thong runs around a bit while the others sleep and finds a couple of villagers. I really hope these strangers are here to advance the plot.
We're from Sulachin.
Sulachin?
Yes, it's to the north, not far from here.
I know. It's where my parents were born.
Hey, they're from Ator's hometown. What a small world. So the gang heads to the village, and it seems the village is looking for volunteers to be sacrificed or something. But Ator has other ideas.
I've come to help you fight.
We're not fighting men. The Kungs of Massaccesi.
You must. If you go on like this, none of you will be left alive. What we must do is prepare a trap for them when they arrive. Right here. And then we'll take them by surprise.
Sounds like a plan, but before Ator puts his plan into action, he is betrayed. Ator was set up. Not cool, dude. And we get someone to explain what's been going on. Like I care, but it all comes down to Zor.
I give you Ator, and in return, our village will no longer have to sacrifice to your serpent god.
See, that's what happens when you try to make a pact with evil. The film is trying to teach us something. So all hell breaks loose and the villagers are killed and their huts burned. And suddenly the film cuts to a dungeon where our heroes have been taken.
Anyway, it will be less repugnant to be strangled by 1,000 serpents than to have to endure your smile.
You have defeated my magician. You have defeated my warriors, but all your science has proved helpless against the powers of imagination and cunning.
His science? Well, that's questionable. And here we watch women being sacrificed to snakes. Growling snakes, no less. Now, to make a long story short, Thong begins to rescue the girls, and then he sets Ator free. A fight breaks out, including a fight with a giant snake. Mila, you wouldn't want to help or something. I mean, we saw you use a sword earlier. You're pretty good with that thing. No, just stand there and look panicky, all right? And suddenly we're back to our heroes outside looking at Zor's castle. I don't know how we got here. So Ator invents a hang glider to drop bombs on his enemies. Like that could happen. And it finally ends up with Ator battling Zor. But Ator is a good guy, so having the upper hand, he lets Zor live. But as you might have guessed, Zor forces Ator to kill him, because that's what bad guys do. How many movies have we seen that in, where the hero decides not to kill the bad guy because it wouldn't be right, but then the bad guy forces the hero to kill him? Akronas gives Ator the weapon he invented, and he orders Thong to watch over Mila and her father. And then, unexpectedly, this happens. Was that the weapon that Ator was taking care of? I'm not really sure. I guess it was Ator destroying it. Anyway, Ator is on his way to his next adventure, coming to a theater near you in 1987.
Ator will ride to do battle, wherever man is oppressed. Ator will answer a call for help and to be freed from bondage. No one is too powerful and protected to avoid his rightful punishment. He is the guardian of knowledge and the hope of the future. Ator, the Avenger.
I read somewhere that the flying footage used while Ator is hang gliding was borrowed from the 1968 Richard Burton Clint Eastwood film Where Eagles Dare. Now, I haven't seen that film in years, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. So, can I find anything good to say about this film without laughing about its shortcomings? I guess the scenes with Mila and her father were okay, even though the dialogue was pretty silly and... No. There is nothing I can say good about this film. I mean, it was so hard to get through this movie without the MST3K riffing to keep me laughing. I want to thank you, Joe D'Amato, for wasting 92 minutes of my life that I will never get back. Like I said, this film was shot in 2 weeks, and maybe if they delayed filming for another week, they could have come up with a decent story or something a little better, something interesting, and maybe if they added 1 more week to the shooting schedule, they could have actually made it look a little decent. You know, I don't care how low budget a film is or how quickly it was made. There's no excuse for a film like this. I get the feeling that no one involved gave a damn about the final product. I mean, I don't want to sound bitter, but I think this film is a crime and they all should be locked up, all be put away because they took people's money. Anyway, a year after this film was released, post-apocalyptic films were the thing due to Mad Max. So Joe quickly directed Endgame, a film that took place in 1925 after a nuclear holocaust left New York City an irradiated but not abandoned wasteland. Hey, 1925, that's next year. Get ready, Big Apple, it's coming for you. Now, from what I've read, this was a combination of Mad Max and The Running Man, and maybe I'll have to check it out. Now, something I started last week was me explaining an obscure reference made by Joel or the Bots. In this show, during the invention exchange, Tom Servo says,
"Like father, like son, think about it, won't you?"
In the 1970s, we had a series of anti-smoking public service announcements on TV that went something like this.
Like father, like son. Like father, like son. Think about it.
Now for the MST3K version, it clocks in at about 80 minutes. That's about a 12-minute difference from the Blade Master, and I'm not sure who made those edits, if it was Mystery Science Theater 3000 for time, or if the version called The Cave Dwellers was edited down. I have no idea. It might have been a Film Ventures International edit for all I know.
How much Keith is in this movie anyway?
Miles O'Keefe. Hey, there's a monolith outside.
Yeah, everybody's evolving and stuff. It's really neat.
Hey, Grog just threw a bone in the air and it turned into a spaceship. This is the part of the film we like to call She Had to Ask.
Yep.
Quit pushing back there.
Daddy.
Lady, can we have our arrow back? Lady.
Hey, why is she limping?
Because she's got an arrow in her chest.
Oh, I can see. Huh?
Use the handrails. I invented them for a reason.
Love, love, love.
Who are these guys? Oh, these must be the cave dwellers.
That's right. 35 minutes into the film, and we're finally at the first plot point. Oh no, they've jumped right into a Kurosawa film.
I'm huge.
You know, the reason this scene is so good is because we care about the characters.
We do. I mean, we do?
Really do. Ator's prehistoric cave dwellers in Milwaukee are a long way apart, but they have one thing in common. Cave land means the best human hearts available, and Milwaukee means sacred wine.
This is CNN, Luke.
Weak point.
Ding!
Was your
Dong. This is a little ridiculous. Okay, so he kills a deer, he tans the hides, he stretches the skins, he makes an anodized aluminum frame, he learns how to extrude and weld all in about 5 minutes, huh?
You can call me Atra, and I don't come with a comfort strip.
I'm not afraid of you.
Oh, well, maybe a little.
If you kill him now, you'll be guilty of murder. Wait until he is tried by the High Court of the League of Peaceful Lands.
Oh, he's making that up.
What is this, BC law?
Justice is done.
Miles O'Keefe will be back in Where Angels Go, Trouble Follows.
Hey, look, tire tracks. Gow.
I want to thank you for watching, I truly do. And I want to apologize for the last month or so. I mean, last weekend I was at a family reunion down in Missouri for the whole weekend, so there was no way I was going to do a show. The week before that, my show got pulled. The week before that, I had things going on. It's been crazy. It's been summer. What can I say? I want to enjoy the summer while it's here. But summer is almost over, so I'll get back to a regular weekly schedule starting today. Anyway, next week, I'll be talking about the 1983 film called Pod People. Yes, I'm skipping Gamera for those keeping track. Pod People was another Film Ventures International release of a film originally titled Extraterrestrial Visitors, and I believe there'll be a lot to talk about. Anyway, this is one of the best Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes, and I am already dreading trying to cut the best of into 2 minutes because I'm sure the best of could be 40 minutes. Anyway, you take care, you stay healthy. I'll be back next week. It's great seeing you. Well, I'm not really seeing you, but you get the idea. It's great that you get to see me. Okay, take care. Bye-bye. So long.